liver detox drinks work?
Liver itself is a detoxifying organ.
Is fatty liver reversible?
Very much.
Is age a factor to have liver issues?
No.
It's the festival season in India, and while all of us have been feasting on sweets and fried food, there's one organ in our body that has been working overtime, making sure that we remain healthy. That's the silent hero, the liver. What can we do to make sure that the stress on our liver reduces? And what are the signs that we might get when our liver is getting damaged? And most importantly, let's also separate the myth from reality as far as liver transplantation is concerned. This is what we'll be focusing on in this week's Real Talk powered by Apollo Hospitals. And my guest today is a doctor who is well equipped to handle all these questions. My guest today is Dr. K. Elankumaran, who is the head of the Liver Diseases and Transplantation Institute at the Apollo Hospitals. So like I said in my introduction, all of us want to have a good time, but make sure all our organs are fine. So if we are talking about liver, it's one organ that works the hardest when we are having a good time. What can we do to reduce the stress on our liver when we're eating oilies, deep fried, sweets, all of that?
Thank you, Pooja, for inviting me here today. It's a pleasure to meet you and discuss about these very relevant topics of interest. In the festive season, we all know we are used to eating sweets. We are on feasting on diet. So definitely, liver is one organ which is working overtime to actually digest and assimilate the nutrition from all these things. But also, we should be careful that overworking the liver with the wrong type of diet actually not only puts a stress on the liver alone, it adds to total amount of metabolic damage to the entire body. Like the pancreas needs to work more, the kidneys need to work more, and everything works like that. And in a sense, liver is actually the boss of all the organs. If liver is working fine, every organ maintains their health in good manner. And liver, if you damage it, definitely all organs eventually are going to end up in a very bad shape. So, in order to maintain your liver in a good shape during this time, I would advise that it's important to keep it balanced. Carbohydrate, proteins, and fats. Almost around 20 to 25% of your food intake should be with carbohydrates, and that too in a very healthy forms. The ready sugars are really bad for your health. The complex sugars are what makes it good. And also taking carbohydrates along with a good amount of fiber, 30 to 35% of your diet should be with fiber, helps your body in a slow release of the glucose into your system and thereby maintaining the energy levels and at the same time not increasing the glucose overload and putting it at risk of developing diabetes and other things. And finally, proteins, which are like the building blocks of your body. Like how buildings are made of bricks, your whole body is made of proteins. There are so many important functions in the body which need proteins, like blood clotting needs protein, and all these important proteins are actually produced in the liver. So you need to also give it a very good amount of protein to actually keep your liver healthy, and definitely eating more of fresh fruits, salads, and non-sugar items actually is a great thing to do for your liver. And I will tell you a secret. The champion of diet is actually the unsweetened black coffee.
Unsweetened I'm okay with, but can it be almost black coffee? Well, let's do it.
I know. You need to enjoy your coffee with it. But then definitely the unsweetened black coffee has all the important ingredients to make your liver healthy. It even prevents liver cancer. You know that? Yeah. So taking 3 cups of black coffee at least in a day can give you all these health benefits. And another interesting thing is that the beneficial effect of coffee does not come actually from caffeine. It comes from a polyphenol called chlorogenic acid in coffee. And so if somebody is having an allergic to caffeine, somebody may get a headache, somebody can have tremors and other things, they can actually try decaf coffee, So it still gives you the same health benefit without all the side effects of coffee.
I'm sure everybody in our office is making notes right now, how they can drink their coffee without it impacting them. Somewhere isn't liver that one organ that is ignored or taken for granted, because people now talk a lot about health, heart health, kidneys, because you drink a lot of water, because your kidneys have to stay strong. But I don't see enough being spoken about what you can do to keep your liver healthy. What are the exercises one can do, or just lifestyle tweaks, apart from what you mentioned, to make sure your liver remains healthy?
So just going into mythology, the Greek mythology says there was a titan called Prometheus. He was actually the son of god Zeus, and he gifted humans with fire. And for this, he was punished by being chained to the Mount Caucasus. And it is interesting that every day an eagle would come and eat a part of its liver. Why am I telling this? Because according to the mythological history, it says that the liver would grow back. A story which was said 3,000 years ago, people actually realized the regenerative capacity of the liver. So to somewhere think that people have not realized the importance of the liver over the years is really very disappointing. But I'm sure today all our youngsters and people are all very aware of the functions of the liver. And in fact, you can see the name, it is called the seat of life, and that is why it is liver. And liver does, like we said, so many important functions: digestion, storage of energy and nutrients, and also detoxification of all your food and medicine gets detoxified in the liver. So such an important organ needs to be taken care of very gently and very carefully. But the very interesting and very unique thing about liver is it is 70% surplus, So for somebody to develop the first symptom of liver disease, almost 70% of the liver needs to be already damaged. Only then they develop the symptom. And this happens to be one of the reasons why people neglect liver disease. They do not even realize that the liver is getting damaged, and unless they have had a screening of liver function for anything else. And like you asked, the important things that you need to do, the diet is what we have already spoken about. And with regards to exercise, what is important is to have a good exercise regimen consisting of both aerobic and strength training. I would say 3 to 4 days of aerobic exercise, and especially what we call the zone 2 exercise. If your baseline heart rate is 80, zone 2 heart rate is once you increase the heart rate to more than 50% of your baseline. So your heart rate comes to around 120 when you do those exercises. It may be cycling, swimming, walking, running, but you maintain your heart rate in the zone 2 for almost 30 to 35 minutes. That's all you need to do. If you can do that, it protects your liver from getting fatty, it protects your liver from getting damaged, so many other things. And also doing strength or resistance exercises for 2 to 3 days in a week is also very helpful.
It's very concerning that you said, it's too late that you don't know there is a problem. So is this something you can watch out for? Some signs that there is stress, if not damage, but maybe stress on your liver.
Very important question. So anybody who has a risk for developing liver disease, like if you are obese, if your diet pattern is very poor, and if you do not exercise, and if you already have known liver diseases like viral hepatitis or fatty liver, and if you have a habit of consuming alcohol regularly, all these people, I think, need to undergo liver screening at least once a year. They're very simple investigations. Just do an ultrasound scan, which can be done easily everywhere, and a simple blood investigation called the liver function test. In most situations, these investigations can give you a clue about liver disease. Because, like we said, if you keep waiting for symptoms, it can be too late. But anybody with a jaundice or a very easy fatigability and other things definitely need to look at any disease of the liver.
Physiologically, anything that can tell us that our liver is stressed?
Yeah, so the yellowish discoloration of your skin and eyes, people think jaundice itself is a disease. It's actually a symptom. Jaundice can be because of liver disease, it can be because of stones in your bile duct, it can be because of tumors. So once somebody is jaundiced, or sometimes even they don't even notice the yellowish discoloration in the eyes. They see the urine turning, dark yellow. Once you do that, I think you need to go ahead and check for your liver health.
So when I was asking our young reporters if they had questions about liver for you, one of them said that he's just gotten on drinking age, so he doesn't have any concerns yet. This is something I hear a lot of young people say, I don't drink as much. I drink just wine once in a while. So I don't have to be concerned about my liver. Is that first of all a myth, or do you think it's somewhere true? And are only drinkers expected to worry about the liver, or anybody can be attacked?
It's a very common question I get asked to multiple times, and it is even interesting to note that once somebody asked me that my doctor has asked me to take wine every day, so that I remain healthy. So definitely it is a myth because there is no safe limit of alcohol, and these days we see even social drinkers coming back to us with severe liver damage, and it is only because there are so many other background liver diseases that they might have. Somebody with a fatty liver being a social drinker can develop liver disease earlier than other people. And if somebody is really into problem drinking, 100% they are going to develop a liver disease. And this thought that wine is healthier for health, I think it came from a research long time ago that wine contains a component called resveratrol. That actually in the red wine, it was actually found to be good for your blood vessels and heart. But to actually take the therapeutic limits of resveratrol, you must be drinking liters of wine every day, and only then you would have these health benefits. And before you take that much amount of resveratrol, I think you will have a liver damage. And it's even interesting to note that the benefits of wine drinking were much more pronounced in Western populations, especially French and Italians. And it was only because the kind of diet that they take, with cheese and other fatty diet, the resveratrol absorption was found to be a little higher than what we would do. So it is all very personalized and different. As a general advice, I would say drinking should always be in a moderate, and only if your liver is healthy. And even if you have a background liver disease, it is always better to abstain from drinking.
A lot of people would probably be happier being unaware, because clearly drinking wine is not going to help them. Fatty liver is something that we're hearing many people complaining about. Do tell us, is it only those who drink, those who eat a lot, are these the only people who need to worry about fatty liver? Who are the people who can be prone to it, and how does it start?
So I can say fatty liver is the new diabetes. Yeah, once upon a time, people were very concerned about getting diabetic and getting all the complications. But I can tell you clearly today, the research shows that getting fatty liver itself is a risk factor for so many other metabolic disorders like diabetes, heart attack, stroke, liver cancers. So all these things, once you have a fatty liver, you are at a higher risk group. So it is very essential that you identify yourself if you are in a risk group. And the other interesting thing is that if you identify them at an early stage, you can reverse it completely. We have people with grade 2, grade 3 fatty liver putting in all their efforts with diet and exercise, and within 1 month they come back with a normal and healthy liver. That's the beauty of lifestyle interventions with regards to fatty liver. But yes, it is becoming a major problem. I think if you scan 100 people in general population, 40-50% are found to have fatty liver. That's a very alarming statistic, I would say, because of the potential of other complications that fatty liver can cause.
And what about liver damage? Can that be reversed at some point? Does it get better with time?
Yeah, definitely. Liver damage at early stage is called hepatitis. When it's just a mild swelling of the liver and a few abnormal blood investigations. At that stage, if the etiology, what the cause of the liver damage can be found out and can be treated appropriately, they can reverse and come back to a normal state. If they do not identify or if they do not control at that stage, it goes on to the next stage called the cirrhotic liver, which is a scarred, fibrotic, the liver starts shrinking. Normally, the liver is the second largest organ in the body. It weighs around 1 to 1.5 kilos. And in a cirrhotic liver, it starts shrinking to sometimes even 400, 500 grams. And at that stage, no amount of medications, no amount of interventions can actually help in recovering back to a normal state.
One WhatsApp myth from the WhatsApp University is about all these drinks to detox the liver. What is your take on it?
One of the main functions of the liver itself is detoxification. So I would say you keep quiet and abstain from all that is going to damage the liver. The liver can take care of itself and it can detox. There is no proven evidence to say that there is some drink or some medicine which can actually detox after you have insulted with a lot of bad things.
Let's also talk about transplantation. There isn't as much awareness about liver transplantation. We know a lot about kidney and other organs. Tell us, how is liver transplantation different from other organs?
First of all, liver transplantation today is a very successful treatment. It is done for patients with liver failure or patients with liver cancer, selected patients. And liver as an organ is a very resilient one, like I said. And generally, the first fear that people have about organ transplantation is rejection. And liver is very different from every other organ transplantation because liver transplantation does not have that much effect because of organ rejection. And in fact, when you see, we sometimes need to do a combined organ transplantation, liver with a kidney, liver with a heart. And in those situations, the rejection of the other organs also becomes very less because liver has this capacity to absorb the antibodies which can actually cause rejection and prevent this complication which happens more commonly with other organs. Yes, it is a very complex transplant. It is much more complex than kidney transplant because it's a very complex organ, and the structures that need to be joined in transplant are sometimes can be very small. We do it with a microscope or other things, and but then when done well and successful, the life after transplant is pretty much it's a second chance of life to live a normal, healthy and fulfilling life.
I think there is this fear that, if I was to donate a part of my liver, then my life will also be impacted. Do tell us, for a donor, what is it like life after transplantation, after you donate a part of your liver?
So I would like to tell you an interesting, or I would say an emotional story where a mother had to donate for her child, and we had explained to her about the process of donation, transplantation, and at the end she came back to us very emotional and asking that after I am gone, who will take care of my child? So there is this misconception that donation will hamper your life, but then even though the liver is a single organ, composes of 8 segments and 2 halves, based on the requirement for the patient, you can actually divide only one half or few segments. Even some very small children, we take only one segment called a monosegment transplant to be transplanted for small children. And after thorough evaluation, if a donor undergoes this surgery and transplantation is done successfully, they recover in a month's time. They can get back to their normal life, and they are not on any continuous investigations or medicines after liver donation. And in fact, there is not even a need to check for their liver regrowth because 100% the liver regrows in less than 2 months of time.
So as a donor, if I was to donate a part of my liver, I can have a normal life after, a long and normal life.
Of course, yes. Nowadays we do the donor surgery using a robotic technique, which essentially is a minimally invasive surgery. We do the entire surgery through small port sites in the abdomen, and we actually retrieve the graft through a lower abdominal incision. So with this, even it has a huge advantage of recovery in the immediate post-operative period and even complications in the late post-operative period. So definitely after a donor surgery, we want the donor to lead a completely normal life.
What about the receiver? What kind of a life can somebody who gets a transplant done? What will the life duration be? What will the life be like? Can you have a normal life? What are the activities you can do? Do tell us about that.
So I tell my patients, transplant not just adds years to your life, it adds life to your years. So they come back to normal life. With a liver disease, they are jaundiced, they are pale, they do not have any muscles, and they are filled with fluid in the legs and belly. And you can see after a successful transplant, 2 weeks after the transplant, they're completely transformed. To an extent, they become much more handsome or beautiful, and they're much more energetic. And yes, they need to be on lifelong immunosuppression and follow-up, but then the amount of medications that they take are initially high for the first 2 months, during which time they have restrictions of going outside or eating outside food. But then after this 2 months, they're pretty much in normal life. Some of the recipients have got married after transplant, they have had children, or children are going to college and schools. So there's no change in the life of a patient after they undergo a transplant. Or rather, you should not even call them patient anymore.
Can both the donor and receiver get back to sports, for example? Can they play football? Can they run? Can they run marathons? All these things are possible.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, we even conducted a marathon for our patients. And it was so surprising that our transplanted recipient was running faster than much normal people. And it so happened that we had to transplant once a kid, a twin, one of the twins. And the transplanted twin actually grew faster than the normal twin. So that much role the healthy liver has on your normal and vitality and health. And they pretty much can do all the normal activities, including sports and exercise after surgery.
I'm sure that's very, very reassuring. And if there are people who are watching this interview and after what doctor said are considering donation of their liver, what should they do? What kind of conversation should they have with their family, and what are the formal procedures that have to be in place?
Now, this is something very important that we need to speak, because India is now at the pinnacle of organ transplantation. We are the country which does the second highest number of transplants in the entire world. But how are we different? Almost 90% of the transplants that happen in India are done with a living donor, compared to the Western world where the disease donation, where people donate organs after they have died. That is the major source of organ transplantation. So living donation is much more challenging and a very difficult operation compared to the disease donor process. But then it is not happening in India because of the lack of awareness. And I would say the process also is not very clear to most people. So I would say anybody watching our interview now, if they would want to donate, there are so many organizations online which can actually give you enough information about the process of organ donation. You can sign up yourself to become an organ donor. But then the most important thing is you need to be talking to your near and dear ones about your wish to donate organs. Because by Indian law, the consent for organ donation is actually given by the next of the patient. Once you have passed on, the decision to donate your organs are given by your family, and only if these people are aware of your intention are they going to donate organs. And donation cannot be done everybody who has died. There are two forms of disease donation. One is called the diseased brain dead donation, which is the commonest in India, where people in the hospital ICU setting are identified as brain death. This concept of brain death itself was new to a lot of people, because once the brain is declared dead, they're not going to recover. But then at this point, their heart is functioning, all other organs are healthy in the body, and this is the point where you can actually consent for organ donation, and all these healthy organs can be transplanted. At least 9 people can have a life-saving surgery from a single person donating his organs. And the other part is called diseased cardiac donation, where a person's heart is stopped and still you can retrieve the organs. This again can be done only in a hospital setting. Less than 3 minutes of the cardiac arrest, actually all the blood circulation to the organs stop and the organs start getting affected. So within 15 minutes, I would say, the entire organs need to be removed after the heart is stopped. So this can happen only when the patient is already in the hospital or even declared such in an operation theatre.
Right, when the person is already probably being treated for something.
Yes.
Else, or being operated for something else.
Not so operated, if they have been identified as a person who is not going to recover. So these people are taken to the operation theatre, they are extubated and see if the heart is arresting in 10 or 15 minutes time, and if the heart arrests, then immediately we proceed with organ retrieval.
One question people might have, if I want to donate my liver, should I have lived a certain lifestyle? So if I'm, say, a social drinker and I still donate my liver, or, if I am slightly obese, can I still go ahead and, donate? So what kind of a person can donate liver?
Also, another very important information that we need to pass on people is even a 80 or 85-year-old can donate organs for transplantation. Maybe his kidney or even his liver might be healthy enough to be transplanted to even a 40 or 50-year-old person. Even at 80 years, the liver can continue to function for even 40, 50 years more. So it all depends on the status of the liver at that time. We can detect all this with the investigations. If the person has had an ultrasound done, the liver function test done, and if they are normal, there are every reason to believe that his liver is going to be helpful for the person who is in need.
So you're saying age is not much of a factor?
Definitely.
Other organs?
Definitely no. I would say looking at the investigations and deciding if the organs are healthy, that is the most important thing.
So even at 80, 85, person can donate their liver to, and it can be given to, say, a 30, 35, 40-year-old.
Not a living donor. as a disease donor, yes, we do accept organs from elderly donors.
Doctor, do tell us about the advancement in technology now. What are the new technology that you have used regularly that can make the whole process much smoother, much more effective, so people also feel more encouraged to donate?
So a lot of treatment protocols which are actually looking futuristic are now reality. It's very interesting that to see how transplant has evolved, and I think we are all standing on the shoulders of these tremendous advancements in science and skill, which has actually made this operation a very safe one. And the foremost, I would say, is the way we started preserving organs. Traditionally, you would have seen that the organs are put in an ice box and preserved. This is a very old and time-worn method of preservation. Today, we have machines. They are like a body outside, and the organs keep functioning in these machines. And so the preservation time is actually getting extended. Traditionally, liver in a cold box can be preserved not more than 10 hours, whereas in the machines, they can be preserved for days together. And they also have a therapeutic potential. Like if a liver on machine got an extra amount of fat, you can perfuse specialized solutions and get the fat out of the liver. You can defat and start using it in a healthy patient and get favorable outcomes. And today there is even research going on to say that an A group liver, if you perfuse it with special solutions, you can convert it into an O group liver and transplant it to pretty much any person. So many advancements and interesting research with regards to perfusion. And I would say the other important thing is about xenotransplantation. The biggest problem with organ transplantation is the shortage of organs. So one way is to have cloned animals. There are research to show that genetically modified pigs can have livers which can be transplanted into human beings. So I think this is also xenotransplantation is going to be a reality. And even there is research to see 3D printing of livers. You can print your livers and do the transplant. I am sure in the future it is going to be a reality.
Wow, that is, I mean, that's good news, I guess, for some time in the future. My last question, what are the places where you can do these transplants? Does any hospital, any multi-specialty are they equipped to have these transplant surgeries?
So liver transplantation is one of the most advanced treatments of modern medicine. It demands a massive infrastructure, deep expertise, and a lot of resources. So definitely it needs an infrastructure which needs to be world class with support from multiple specialties. For a successful transplant, you just not need a surgeon and anesthetist. You need a very good hepatologist. You need multidisciplinary support like a cardiologist, nephrologist, pulmonologist, infectious disease specialist, intensive care specialist, and even other specialties like blood bank, endoscopy services, radiology services have a huge role to play in the success of transplant. So I would definitely say a successful transplant program can be done only in a very good tertiary or a quaternary care facility.
Before I let you go, young people call this rapid fire. If I could just run a few questions by you, where we just separate myths and from reality, fact from fiction, and we just tell people what they're learning on Instagram and WhatsApp. How much of that is true? How much of it is not? Yeah. So first question: does a person who doesn't drink any alcohol be sure to have a good liver?
No, not at all. We've seen that alcohol is not the only problem for liver. A bad diet, a lack of exercise can also be a problem for liver. So lifestyle related disorders like fatty liver is a major problem. It is called a non-alcoholic liver disease. And second is a silent disease, which we need to talk about, is about viral hepatitis. Everybody is speaking about COVID virus and lung damage. But for decades together now, the World Health Organization is struggling to control viral hepatitis. They wanted to eradicate this disease because it is a hotspot and millions of people are dying of viral hepatitis every year. But because of the lack of awareness of how to control this disease and how to prevent this disease, people are still getting affected silently. And so there can be a lot of diseases apart from alcohol which can actually affect your liver.
Are there certain kinds of alcohol that are better for the liver than the others? For example, is wine better than, say, beer? Or is brandy or better than whiskey? Is there any difference?
Alcohol by any name is toxic to the liver. There is only a doubt about what can be the safe limit. Whatever research has is not with Indian population. So I would say if anybody is drinking, ask yourself 4 questions. We call it the cage questionnaire. C, for do you feel yourself that there is a need to cut down on your drinks? A, Are you annoyed by criticism of people around you? G, you yourself feel guilty about drinking. Or 4, you have a need an eye opener drink every day. So if your answer is yes to any one of these 4 questions, you're already a problem drinker. So I would say check yourself once a year if you have a habit of drinking, and if there is any background liver damage already, please quit alcohol.
Do liver detox drinks work?
Liver itself is a detoxifying organ, so definitely you need to just shut up and keep quiet, and liver can take care of itself.
Is fatty liver reversible?
Very much. Fatty liver in the early stages, before it has started causing damage, it is completely reversible as quickly as even 1 month duration.
Is age a factor to have liver issues?
No, we see even newborn children with liver disease. So there are a lot of genetic problems which can start affecting a child right from the time of its birth. And as we have seen, every liver disease like a fatty liver or a liver cirrhosis can affect even an elderly person. So everybody at different age groups can develop different kinds of liver disease.
And finally, doctor, if I change my lifestyle, if I make it better and more conducive for my liver, is there a chance of any kind of liver damage getting reversed?
Definitely yes. Like I said, once you have removed all the insulting factors, the liver starts healing itself. It starts regrowing. Liver has so many different kinds of cells. It's the only organ to have functioning hepatocyte. There is a blood vessels. There are immune cells. So many things. So liver can take care of itself once you remove all the insulting factors.
This was such an eye-opening but yet fun conversation. Thank you so much for your time. I do hope all our viewers will take all your tips and have a more healthy liver going forward.
I thoroughly enjoyed having this discussion with you. Thank you for having me here today.